6 months ago on the sun-drenched hard courts of the Miami Open, Karolina Muchova delivered a ruthless masterclass. In a swift 6-0, 6-2 demolition, the Czech maestro handed young Alexandra Eala one of the toughest lessons of her professional career. It was a cold, clinical reminder of the gap separating promising talent from the WTA's absolute elite. However, what happened next surprised everyone. As the tennis world descends upon Flushing Meadows for the 2026 U.S. Open, the official women's singles draw is brewing what could be the most explosive revenge match of a New York swing. The player preparing to walk through the gates of the Billie Jean King National Tennis Center is unrecognizable from the teenager who left South Florida in March. Alex Eala isn't just an underdog looking for an upset anymore. She is entering New York as the world number 20, armed with her first career WTA singles title, and a kind of fearless momentum that terrifies top seeds. Across the net stands Muchova, the world number 7, a Wimbledon finalist, and one of the most complete tacticians on the planet. Why does this potential clash carry so much weight? Because this isn't just a simple rematch. It is the ultimate measuring stick. Eala's meteoric rise over the summer, highlighted by a historic title run in Washington, where she dismantled Grand Slam champions and top 10 stalwarts, has completely altered the dynamic. Meanwhile, Muchova arrives in Queens under very different circumstances, fighting to shake off ring rust after undergoing a post-Wimbledon surgical procedure that forced her out of both Toronto and Cincinnati. In this special breakdown, we are taking you inside the numbers, the tactical evolution, and the high-stakes drama surrounding this potential second-week blockbuster. You'll discover how Eala engineered one of the most stunning mid-season turnarounds on tour, why Muchova's health could dramatically shift the balance of power, and what a victory in New York would mean for the future of Asian tennis. The stage is set for a collision course that could redefine both of their seasons. So why did the narrative change so drastically between March and August? To understand the magnitude of what's coming in New York, we have to revisit the afternoon in Miami where it all began. On March 23rd, when Alexandra Eala and Karolina Muchova stepped onto court in the round of 32 at the Miami Open, the contrast was glaring. From a very first baseline exchange, Muchova established complete command, using her signature heavy slices, exquisite touch at the net, and sudden changes of pace. The Czech veteran completely dismantled Eala's rhythm. The scoreboard told a brutal, unflinching story. 6-0, 6-2. It took barely an hour for Muchova to wrap up the victory, leaving Eala with an official head-to-head deficit and a harsh lesson on the physical and tactical demands of top-tier professional tennis. For most young players, a lopsided loss on a stage that big leaves lingering scars. But in professional tennis, 6 months can feel like an entire lifetime. Instead of retreating, Eala took that defeat as a clear blueprint for what she needed to rebuild. Her timing, her footwork under heavy pressure, and most importantly, her ability to handle tactical variety all went under intense reconstruction. Few people noticed one crucial detail during that rebuilding phase. Eala wasn't just working on her forehand. She was building an entirely new competitive identity. The world saw the definitive proof of that transformation during her unbelievable championship run in Washington. Entering an intensely stacked draw, Eala didn't just scrape past fringe contenders. She took down a murderer's row of the sport's biggest names. Along the way, she toppled 4-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka, battled past Olympic champion Jing Qinwen, and outworked seasoned veteran Alina Svitolina. The real turning point came in a heart-stopping encounter against defending champion Leylah Fernandez. After taking the opening set 6-2, Eala suddenly found herself in deep trouble, staring down a 2-5 deficit in the second set. In months past, that scoreboard pressure might have forced a decider, but the version of Eala competing in Washington possessed a steel spine. She methodically snatched 5 consecutive games, dragged the set into a high-stakes tiebreak, and closed out the match in straight sets. That wasn't just a win. It was an announcement that she could look disaster in the eye and refuse to blink. That resilience reached its peak in the final against top-ranked American star Jessica Pegula. When Pegula claimed the opening set 6-4, the home crowd expected business as usual. However, what happened next surprised everyone in attendance. Eala didn't flinch. She leveled the match with a gritty 6-4 second set, and then, in an absolute masterclass of aggressive baseline tennis, swept Pegula 6-0 in the deciding third set to claim her maiden WTA Tour level singles title. The sheer dominance of that third set against the top 10 players signaled to the entire tour that Eala had arrived. While Eala was setting the North American hard courts on fire, Karolina Muchova was writing her own high-drama chapter across the Atlantic. When healthy, the world number 7 is arguably one of the most dangerous, multidimensional players on the WTA Tour. Muchova proved that beyond a shadow of a doubt during the European grass court swing, lifting the title in Bad Homburg and advancing all the way to the Wimbledon final, where she pushed herself to the limit before falling to Linda Noskova. Yet just as Muchova seemed destined to dominate the second half of the season, her momentum was abruptly halted. Following her exhausting run at SW19, Muchova underwent a minor surgical procedure. The physical toll forced her to withdraw from the premier events in Toronto and Cincinnati. According to WTA records, Muchova has not played a single competitive match since walking off center court in London, and that brings both players to the doorstep of the 2026 U.S. Open. On one side, you have Alexandra Eala, hardened by high-pressure victories over elite champions, riding an unprecedented wave of confidence, and armed with proven match sharpness. On the other side stands Karolina Muchova, a master strategist with undeniable Grand Slam pedigree, but stepping onto hard courts in New York without a single prep match under her belt. The stage is set for a clash of philosophies, form, and fitness. But beneath the surface of this potential rematch lie tactical nuances and historical factors that could completely dictate the outcome. When tennis analysts break down this potential matchup on paper, the contrasting styles present one of the most fascinating tactical chess matches on the WTA Tour. To truly gauge how different a New York Showdown will be compared to Miami, we have to look closely at the tactical mechanics that defined their first encounter and examine how both players have altered their game since. In their March meeting, Karolina Muchova put on a clinic in disruptive tennis. Muchova's game has never been about raw, one-dimensional baseline punching. It is built on variety, heavy slice backhands that stay agonizingly low, and elite net coverage. In Miami, that variety completely neutralized Eala. Every time a young Filipina tried to establish baseline rhythm, Muchova dragged her out of position with acute angles or drop shots, forcing rush decisions and unforced errors. Eala simply did not have the defensive comfort or the point construction patience to deal with that level of craft. But the Alexandra Eala, walking into the 2026 U.S. Open, is playing a fundamentally different brand of tennis. During her championship run in Washington, Eala showcased a newfound tactical maturity. Against power hitters like Naomi Osaka and Jung Qinwen, she demonstrated an elite ability to redirect heavy pace rather than simply trying to out-hit them. Against Leylah Fernandez, when trailing 2-5 in the second set, Eala stopped overpressing, adjusted her court positioning, and began targeting deeper zones to pin her opponent back. That tactical adjustment produced 5 straight games and completely reversed the match momentum. Furthermore, her 6-0 deciding set against Jessica Pegula proved that her aggressive baseline patterns have reached top 10 lethality when she is on the front foot. Her forehand has become a devastating weapon, and her first serve consistency under pressure has stabilized significantly. If Muchova attempts to employ the same low-slice tactics in New York, she will be targeting a player who is now far more comfortable bending her knees, generating her own pace from defensive positions and counter-punching with venom. So why isn't this an open and shut advantage for Eala? Because Karolina Muchova remains one of the most uniquely gifted talents in modern tennis. When she is physically healthy, her tennis IQ is off the charts. Her run to the Bad Homburg title and the Wimbledon final proved that she can dictate terms against anyone on any surface. Her ability to read opponent tendencies and disguise her shot selection makes her a nightmare matchup even for experienced veterans. However, the major variable hanging over Muchova is match sharpness. Competitive tennis cannot be perfectly replicated on a practice court. After undergoing minor surgery following her Wimbledon run, Muchova made the difficult decision to withdraw from both Toronto and Cincinnati. Entering a Grand Slam tournament without competitive hard-court matches is a massive physical and mental hurdle. The intense heat, the rapid pace of the Deco turf surface, and the physical demands of high-stakes 3-set battles require acute match fitness. Throughout her career, Muchova has earned a reputation for being remarkably dangerous even after extended injury layoffs. She has repeatedly stepped onto big stages after months away and produced world-class tennis right out of the gate. But facing a red-hot battle-tested opponent in the early rounds of the Grand Slam second week is an entirely different test. On the ranking front, the numbers highlight an extraordinary trajectory. When the initial U.S. Open entry list was finalized on August 17th, Eala sat at world number 29, with Muchova positioned firmly at number 6. By the August 19th WTA ranking update, Eala had surged all the way to world number 20, while Muchova held strong at world number 7. Both players enter Flushing Meadows securely inside seeded territory, meaning they will not cross paths in the opening rounds. If the official draw places them in the same section, their paths would likely intersect in round 32 or the round of 16. And if that happens, the psychological dynamic will be completely reversed from their Miami meeting. For Eala, this is about personal redemption and validating her rapid ascent into the world's elite. For Muchova, it is about defending her territory and proving that her championship pedigree can silence the hottest rising star on tour. The stage is set for a monumental battle of styles, but the broader implications of this potential clash extend far beyond a single match in Queens. The bigger picture here stretches far beyond a single rematch in Flushing Meadows. For Alexandra Eala, this potential collision represents a defining litmus test. 6 months ago, the gap between her raw potential and the top 10 was laid bare under the Florida sun. Today, she stands as a WTA champion, carrying the hopes of an entire nation on her shoulders and proving that she belongs under the bright lights of Arthur Ashe Stadium. A victory over a player of Muchova's caliber would not just be sweet revenge. It would cement Eala's arrival as a legitimate Grand Slam contender. For Karolina Muchova, the stakes are equally profound. The Czech star has spent her career proving that her breathtaking shot-making and tactical wizardry belong at the pinnacle of women's tennis. Coming off a brilliant run to the Wimbledon final, she knows that time and health are the only true obstacles between her and a major crown. If she can step onto the hard courts of New York after surgery and immediately neutralize one of the tour's most explosive young talents, it will send an emphatic message to the entire locker room that Muchova remains a genuine force for the title. As the tennis world eagerly awaits the official release of the U.S. Open women's singles draw, all eyes will be locked on where these two names land. If the bracket places them on a collision course, tennis fans will be treated to one of the most compelling storylines of the entire tournament. Will Eala's blistering momentum, newfound resilience, and match sharpness be enough to rewrite history? Or will Muchova's surgical variety, tactical brilliance, and big stage pedigree prevail once again? One thing is undeniable. The Alexandra Eala walking into New York is not the same player who left Miami. The game has changed, the stakes have risen, and the stage is set for an unforgettable battle. Now, we want to hear from you. If this blockbuster rematch happens at the U.S. Open, who takes the victory? Alex Eala with her red-hot hardcourt form, or Karolina Muchova with her Grand Slam experience? Drop your predictions in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for full coverage throughout the tournament, and we will see you on the court.